On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, new GTA 6 leaks. I won't put it on the internet, just show me a little bit of it. Updates on the PC version.
It's a masterpiece in misdirection.
And GTA 7. I mean, GTA 7 could just be completely online. It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 27 of GTA 6 o'clock. I am your host, James Jarvis, and in this episode, we are talking, as you've just heard, leaks, PCs, and GTA 7, but don't get too excited about GTA 7. Joining me this week, as he has been for the last 26 weeks, is Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Hello there. I can't believe we're heading towards our 30s. Only yesterday we were celebrating our 21st birthday. Time moves fast when you're having fun.
Yes, we will get there. And episode 100 is when we think is around when the game will come out. So we're already, I don't know, what's that? Over a quarter of the way to launch.
Hey.
Go team. Now, look, just before we get started, I wanted to mention something quickly because I was reading, doing a lot of research this week, trying to find some things that we can discuss. And I came across an article that was sold to me as an analysis on the trailer and what it might have told us about side missions. What it actually contained was lines very much like, and I quote, this is a real line, challenges involving cars are also a likely addition to the game. Now, look, I know we're all desperate for some GTA 6 news, and we have been guilty of similar things like this, but come on. There's going to be cars in GTA 6? Well, tap up that article right now.
Shocking change of direction for the Grand Theft Auto game.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were some other things in there about alligators that were even more obscene. But anyway, that's the end of my rant. Let's get on to some hot news. And there has been a clip floating around this week, Dan, that was being sold originally as a new GTA 6 leak. Now, first of all, we should say that this is not real. And so much so that I think we might even be able to put it on screen because someone has come out on Discord and said that they can prove it's not real because they were the ones who made it. But what this does lead us to is an interesting discussion about leaks and what we should or shouldn't expect before the next content drop, which we're expecting around September, hopefully, fingers crossed. So I wanted to get your opinion, Dan, off the bat on, do you think it is likely that all of the 2022 material that was obtained from Rockstar in those leaks has been released on the internet? Or is there a chance that someone, whoever ended up buying the big stack of things, or the person who originally got hold of it, has held something back?
Crikey. I mean, it's almost unknowable.
It is.
But it feels like whoever that was has played their hand. Such was the proliferation of videos at the leak time. There was I might be not exactly 90 plus leaks or something.
Yeah.
And just this carpet bombing of ridiculous tiny clips, some more significant, some ridiculous. It felt like somebody played their hand and hard. Now, unless there was something truly seismic in there that for whatever reason they thought there was a tactical reason to hold it back. And I guess, what's the reason people leak things? Now, it's partly, I think, just some people are, they're like the Joker. They just want to see the world burn and they want things to be ruined for everyone, which is a really grim reason to do it. Some want the notoriety and fame of doing it. I'm just trying to think of why withholding it, unless you felt somehow you could somehow blackmail Rockstar for it. I don't see any reason to hold on to it. I don't think there'll be anything of that bigger significance. So my guess would be, I think we've seen what we're going to see from the 2022 leaks, but it's unknowable, right? We can't be sure.
And that, I mean, is an interesting point, as I've noted in our notes, to talk about Sony's Wolverine leak, which happened back in December last year, and then some more stuff came out in January, and they very much were tried to hold Insomniac and Sony to ransom and say, hey, we've got all this stuff. If you don't pay us a lot of money, we're going to release it all to the internet. And obviously they didn't pay them a lot of money, and now it is all on the internet. But that is one that sort of started with an initial wave of stuff. And you're like, oh, this is super bad. that all of this stuff has come out, and then slowly there's been like a few more trickles over the last couple of months of like extra stuff. So they obviously did try that method. It didn't work. But I very much agree with you. I think it's pretty unlikely that someone is sitting on some GTA 6 stuff that hasn't been put out into the world already. So I think what we're looking at is those 80 to 90 videos from 2022. There was that one leak that was separate to that allegedly came from a friend of the son of Aaron Garbel, who's the co-studio head and art director at Rockstar North, which looked like his son had a mate who went round and filmed some stuff, and then went, I can only show you a little bit of it for legal reasons. But that, I think, feels, now we've seen all the other stuff, a lot more credible, and it's a lot more of a real leak, and amazing that if it did happen that way. Although having said that, if I was friends with the son of someone making one of the biggest games in the world, I would be on at them all the time to be like, just show me a little bit of it. I won't put it on the internet. Just show me some bits. Surely you can just show me a clip.
And I guess it can have, I mean, at a much lower level, like I was on a call, we were on a call with people making an interesting secret video game of the future. And in the background, my children had friends around who were utterly oblivious to what was happening. But like, were a child sufficiently clued in, they could have overheard what I was saying. But like, I would honestly calculate the security risk as being minimal to nil, given their age and the level of interest in that thing.
Yeah.
But I guess weird stuff happens. And I guess that when your dad is famously a man who works at Rockstar Games and you've got friends of a certain age, there'll be those that are more savvy. And like, of all of the leaks, that's the one that felt the most plausible apart from the 2022 leaks. And it did, it looked pretty legit.
And weirdly, like, that one is still on social media sites and things. Like, I mean, there's probably been replicated so much that it's impossible to take them all down, but it's that version of it is not that hard to find. But it also shows almost nothing, but it does seem to match up with some of the shots in the trailer. Which leads us on to, recently, Sony's State of Play lineup got leaked. Obviously, the first GTA 6 trailer was leaked via what we believe to be a Google or YouTube back-end system. There's been various Nintendo leaks, all seemingly coming from YouTube over the last few years. So I guess the question is, like, what is Rockstar's next move for trailer 2? Like, do they just carry on and put it on YouTube again? Like, I can't see them doing a premiere again like they did last time, because it's too big now, right, to do that. And so they'd have to find another way to deliver that to the audience somehow. Yeah,
and this is because we've actually written down some things we see as like role play style scenarios for what they can do. But I don't know if this is something we've written down I should talk about. Is I guess the last time around they'd very much said it's coming at this time. Like, do you think it's possible they could just cold drop it?
I mean, they could. I think that there's always going to be, if you're giving it to a big third-party media site like YouTube, at some point you have to upload the media, even if it's half an hour before, which probably doesn't give people enough time to leak it. But you'd have to be, is half an hour enough time to get the world's media prepped on the next GTA trailer?
Yeah, and I guess this is the same argument. We've had this argument before, not even an argument, discussion about there is a world where Rockstar could release GTA tomorrow and it might not perform any worse commercially than if they'd spent X amount on marketing and done all these different things, because this is a property that's so large and so, it's like word of mouth in a way that people were like, oh my God, the new GTA just dropped, and that will become a story in itself, and it may not really harm its sales at all. You could argue the same thing extends to its trailers, right? I think they could just drop a trailer now, and I don't think it would perform, and you'll never know, right? Because you never get to run both scenarios side by side, but I don't think it would perform significantly worse than if they just dropped it cold, than if they pre-announced it for a week ahead. And I think even if you pre-announce, that the point of weakness is still, as you say, at the point where they hand over the file to a third party. That's where it's no longer their secret thing that, lives on one person's computer under lock and key and becomes, it now belongs in this shareable format, however much we've protected it, someone else's potential property and leak. So I don't know which way they go. Like I'm all for cold dropping things. Like I think they should they can do whatever they want with GTA. That's the thing. They can just do whatever they want and it will be amazing. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, like you've written down some interesting scenarios. So I guess there's clear routes they could follow, right? In terms of like, where do they go with the next trailer and how do they release it?
So yeah, I'll come up with a couple of options which I think are the most plausible ones. I think their first option is that and maybe we go through these one by one.
Yeah.
First option is that they live stream it and then release it afterwards. The slight risk with this is obviously with anything live, something could go wrong. But if you're live streaming it to a very stable platform like YouTube or Twitch or one of the big ones, I think they'd be okay. And obviously you'd get an initial quality hit based on people's bandwidth. So you might not get people who are streaming it might not get the 4K version, but they'd immediately release it afterwards as a video on demand that you can go back and watch and things like that. That's a possibility, and I think doing it that way would allow them to keep the views from the initial like live stream and then the trailer drop afterwards. They would just keep the same video. So, and I think part of this is numbers related, right? They're going to want, if I was working at Rockstar, I would want to say trailer 2 performed better than trailer 1, or trailer 2 is now the most watched YouTube video outside of music releases ever. Yeah, you'd want to continue that train, and I think this is a way that they could do it by live streaming it. So I feel like this is probably the most likely, like finding a live stream solution, even if it's just on YouTube. It means they don't have to upload it to anyone else. They can just set up a feed that goes from one computer to YouTube, and then it just gives everyone the chance to watch it.
Yeah, it's like everyone stood on the platform waiting for the Orient Express to flash past at a certain time, right? Like until that moment, you can't see it, and it's delivered, and that's it. Can you think of? And I'm thinking on the fly. Can you think of a game that's done this? That's gone, attend this streaming location at this time, and we will deliver a trailer.
Call of Duty have done it before, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say it felt like the one game I feel like they've done it.
They've done that insane. Like they've done a 24-hour countdown. I can't quite remember. I'm gonna probably remember this wrong. But didn't they do like a block of ice one time that was melting over a 24-hour period? And once it mounted, you got to see the new Call of Duty logo, and then they played the trailer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like Assassin's Creed has done similar. That ironically, that's the leakiest game in all of the universe. Yeah. But I feel like they've done countdowns before to the official trailer. This is probably something, please let us know in the comments and do add your own experiences and do some Googling around this. But I think the risk is, as you say, if Rockstar pre-committed and went everyone on this destination at this date, they could break the record for the amount of people waiting to see a thing. But then you do get into that point of like, at what stage does this become a risk to this platform and their ability to host this thing and to deliver the quality? And I dare say GTA would break the limits of what previously has been seen.
Probably, yes.
And I mean, I'm thinking back to other versions of the internet at different times in history, but I remember like watching some diabolical quality live streams. I think the world's moved on significantly since then, but there's still, to my mind, a slight element of risk because of how preposterously huge GTA is. But it's one way. What it is good for is maintaining security because you're not handing over a file to a third party.
Which is also, option number 2 is them hosting it on their own site, which they have done in the past, years and years ago.
Yeah.
But even when they did it, probably it was GTA 5 time. So over 10 years ago. Even then, their site broke, and there's probably a lot more expectation this time around that I think it's going to collapse any kind of normal website like that. If you try and say, come here at this time to watch the trailer, like it's not going to work. So I don't feel that that's a real option anymore. And then option number 3 is release it to trusted media partners, like your big, your IGNs and of the world and that kind of thing, and go, hey, we're all going to release this trailer at this point. What happens then is you've given out your media to a number of people, and you're diluting the special pool of people who know about it, who are like, yeah, no, we're not going to do anything like this. Like that, I think adds so much risk. And
Yeah.
I'd say it's almost certainly would leak if that happens. Like there's just too many hands that it would have to pass through. And it only takes one person to go, hey, Johnny, did you know that we're releasing the GTA 6 trailer tonight? Here's a little clip of it. And then that's, it's gone.
It's an interesting thing because when you work with media partners, there's obviously NDAs that protect both parties. Like we've been involved with that and we've signed them. There's ultimately a scenario where all it takes is one rogue agent, or like a junior member of staff to go, do you know what? I don't care and I'm going to leak this anyway. GTA is so huge. It's riskier because of how huge it is. There's more incentive for someone to go, I'm actually going to blow up my own career at this media organization for the thrill of leaking it. So I think, it's an ultra high risk strategy precisely because of how explosive GTA is.
Plus, they don't get their, one source of truth for all the numbers because it would be split across so many different sites that they probably wouldn't be able to make that claim very accurately. My one thing that I've just had off the top of my head that I'm going to throw in, which is also unlikely, because this used to happen back in the day and now no one goes to the cinema anymore. Do you remember when you could go to the cinema and they'd say, if you come and watch film X, you get to see a trailer for, the new Marvel film beforehand. And basically what it did is forced people to go and watch maybe a film they didn't want to watch because they wanted to watch the trailer for something else. There is you could see them going, what is the big summer blockbuster in 2025? Go watch that film. We'll put the GTA trailer ahead of that film. Again, it's going to mean it's passed through way too many hands. It's got to be distributed to hundreds and thousands of cinemas.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, it's like, it's game over. But it's an option.
Someone would film it on their mobile or just literally bring in an amazing camera and set it up with the purposes of filming it. And because you'd be relying then on like the slightly harangued 23-year-old junior employee who polices the use of mobile phones in the theatre. You could imagine scenes where that person was overpowered while someone filmed that. There's all sorts of ways that would not work. While we were off air, I was musing on the idea of what's the most secret thing in games media I've ever had to see, or what's the most extreme security protocol we've ever been exposed to. Something you talked about I'd forgotten was that once upon a time Nintendo used to send out like literally locked GameCubes. Is that right? They locked the cartridge within the...
they would, like, you couldn't open the it was the cartridge drawer back then.
Yeah.
You couldn't, so it was just sealed, locked. So the only way you could turn it on and it would just play the game.
Yes.
But the only way to get it out was like to smash it and then you'd ruin your GameCube.
And that was when like GameCube's little disc things they used to have when they were locked inside. I was, and again, I've got to be careful not to name names. Like I was talking to someone prominent within a major company who's a PR person who would know, and saying for their large AAA release, like in the last 24 months, they had one copy of that game in a certain country. It was all like invisibly digitally coded and stamp locked, but that every time that piece of code went out somewhere, it had to be signed in and out of a safe. So I think that was quite an extreme version of protection. And it got me thinking about when we were talking about the cinema viewing and, how that could be exclusive, but in reality would be ruined because of there's too many theatre chains and people wouldn't police it. The most extreme example of this is, and this has been in the news recently, music group the Wu-Tang Clan, who should need little introduction, the big hip-hop collective. They did an album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. There's only one copy of it in existence. And it's like a series of CDs within a ridiculously ornate collection box that looks like an ancient Ming Dynasty style, collection case. And they made the album, and it's got tracks on it from people like Cher. It's completely crazy, right? It's wild. And it was built almost as an art project to say, at a time when streaming is reducing the value of music to zero, we are going to create the ultimate high value object in music. And then they made the album and they put it up for auction, and it ended up being bought by who would later be revealed as a disgraced pharmaceuticals entrepreneur. And the Wu-Tang Clan initially said, we don't care who gets this album. That's part of the art of the exercise. But then this guy who got it started trying to go, I'm going to sell some tracks. Join me for a viewing party. I'm going to, trying to make money himself off what they didn't want to happen. So eventually it fell into the hands of a museum, which is in Tasmania now in Australia. So they've been doing, and this is where it comes back to GTA, they've been doing like very limited invite VIP listening parties. So you can go into a room where I presume they take your mobile phone, everyone's signed in, they've got your details, and you get to listen to 30 minutes of the album. It's like a complete and utter privilege that you can only explain to people verbally because there's no recordings anywhere. Now, it would be funny. I mean, again, there's all sorts of faults with this, but I'd like the idea of Rockstar doing something like that so the trailer almost becomes apocryphal. And this has happened in the history of video games where, and I've been to them, where games publishers have had a really hot new game and they've only shown it to like 20 members of the press.
Yeah, we're talking about behind closed doors press events, essentially, of like, come see this little vertical slice of the game, go away and write about it. But you can't actually show anyone anything. Much like when, back in the days when we went to see GTA 5 and it was like, we can't show you any footage, but we can describe what we saw.
And there were games like, there was the Fallout 3 was like this. It was shown at E3 in a super lock and key behind closed doors. Or something like the game that never came out, Star Wars 1313, which was going to be, spoilers for a game that never came out, was secretly a Boba Fett game. And then this before, Mandalorian, it's like 10 years ago. And that was at E3, and it was the talk of E3. Have you seen the 1313 trailer? What the hell is this? Where is it? Where can I go? You got to beg so-and-so. But the vibe around it was massive. Like there were people queuing 100 out of the door to go and see it. That's a funny thing Rockstar could experiment with. But again, it's not democratic. People would invent stories about it.
Yeah.
It's all just part of myth building. And if you want true secrecy, that things like that are available to you.
So coming up in the next few weeks, we're going to drop some Wu-Tang Clan tracks and we will discuss the details of our invite from Rockstar to go and see trailer 2. Next up then, GTA 6 on PC, which has been a hotly debated topic over the last few weeks, only in part because there's been a new interview with Strauss Zelnick, who's the Rockstar or Take-Two CEO, who's been speaking to the host of a talk at the TD Cowen 52nd Annual Technology, Media and Telecom Conference, where the host had asked Strauss a few questions about GTA 6, and he actually gave some answers, which is reasonably unusual. I'll read out what he said. The host said, "You have announced GTA 6 for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. You haven't announced it for PC. Can you talk a bit more about that decision? Is that set in stone or..." And I guess then he tailed off as the answer came in. And so Strauss Zelnick said, "Well, the lack of an announcement is not something that could be set in stone as near as I could tell, because the only thing that happens after the lack of an announcement is an announcement, I suppose, or a continuing lack of an announcement. I guess that could happen too. It doesn't seem to me that either would be set in stone. But Rockstar has an approach to platforms which we've seen before, and they'll make more announcements in due time. I do believe that the right strategy for our business is to be where the consumer is, and historically what this company has done to address consumers everywhere they are on any platform, that makes sense over time." So read between the lines there for us, Dan.
Can I just say, can we just pause to recognise these are two of the all-time biggest load of word salad nonsense responses that any CEO has ever uttered. Is actually, and I dip my hat to Strauss Zelnick because this is next level jiggery pokery.
Well, that's what you get at TD Cowen's 52nd Annual Technology Conference.
It's phrases like, the only thing that happens after the lack of an announcement is an announcement. He's got to be laughing his ass off inside saying stuff like that. It's utterly preposterous. What's he saying, right? A million words to say, no shit, Sherlock. There will eventually be a PC version and we're going to announce it when it's ready. Like, what? Unless I'm missing some cryptic meaning here, it's just a load of nonsense to obfuscate what is sort of obvious. And I almost feel like he's laughing at the questioner's expense creating 250 words of nonsense. But maybe I'm missing the subtext, and in fact, this is something he'd pre-prepared and is much cleverer than I realise.
No, I think this is very much. Well, we haven't announced it, but we might announce it, or we might not announce it in a bit, and then we'll announce it when we're going to announce it.
Yeah, like this is. I love this answer. We like to be where the consumer is. Like, yeah, oh yeah, sounds it sounds sensible. You're like, yeah, of course. Like you want to sell games. There's loads of people own a PC. Oh, does it mean they're doing a PC version? It's a masterpiece in misdirection, I think, from Zelnick.
Yeah, and obviously we've discussed this quite a lot. We know that Rockstar follow a certain pattern traditionally when it comes to releasing games on PC, which means you'll get the console version next year in 2025, fall 2025 at the moment, and that means that we'll get the PC version 2026, maybe 2027, depending on the launch date of PS5 and Xbox versions. And normally what that will be is like the definitive enhanced edition on PC.
Yeah, and this is where I think your mind starts to wobble, where you start thinking by the time it comes out on PC, it's like you used to say a year to 18 months or plus from the original version. Actually, in history, it's usually been that the PC version is the precursor to the next generation console version. So by the time we see the PC version of GTA 6, we're not going to be far off a conversation about PS6 or Xbox whatever, but assuming those things ever come out. But that's going to be essentially what we're seeing. It's like the next generation version of this thing. We already think we'll be in a position where GTA 6 will be probably optimally played on PS5 Pro.
Yeah, like that. The suggestion is that will happen this year, that release of a PS5 Pro, even though it hasn't been announced yet, and we are in the summer of announcing everything. But hey, out by Christmas is the expectation. So you would expect GTA 6 would run on the PS5 Pro, but then this PC version will be a next step on from that version.
Yeah, and actually, when you look back at GTA 5, when you look all the way back through to the PS3 release version, it's not like it's a completely different game. It's staggering how they got that game to run, and the base of it. It's all just about resolution, depth, texture, depth of field, layering effects, all that sort of stuff. But so I think the PC version will be just a precursor to what we're going to get from the next generation of consoles. But I agree with everything you said. There's a pattern for this, and I think it will only follow a similar-ish pattern. But my brain struggles when you start saying 2026, 2027 for the PC version. It feels so far away, but that's probably the roadmap we're on.
So PC players, go and get yourself a console, probably, if you really want to play GTA 6. We can have a little look at what's happened for GTA 5 and Red Dead on PC and what kind of enhancements it came with to see, what might happen in a PC version of GTA 6. GTA 5, the PC version, offered players the option to explore the award-winning world of Los Santos and Blaine County in resolutions of up to 4K and beyond, as well as the chance to experience the game running at 60 frames a second.
So that was new, right? That was never seen it in 4K before.
Yeah.
Rock solid frame rates. That's what PCs do well.
There were over 25 configurable settings for texture quality, shaders, tessellation, anti-aliasing, and more. Support for extensive customization for mouse and keyboard controls, obviously. Additional options include a population density slider to control car and pedestrian traffic, as well as dual and triple monitor support, 3D compatibility, and plug-and-play controller support. The PC version of Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online features first-person mode, giving players the chance to explore the incredibly detailed world of Los Santos and Blaine County in an entirely new way.
And so what's interesting there is that it talks about the first-person mode for GTA 5 on PC, but that actually wasn't the first time we'd seen the first-person mode, because that had been introduced with the leap from PS3 to PS4, but at the same time they'd started talking about the PC version, so we knew it was coming in the future. But, I mean, the first-person mode, again, to me felt like, wow, it works. But then I never actually played using first person. So I guess for some people it was significant, but it was more they can do it technically, therefore it's interesting.
Yeah. And then the Red Dead edition of the PC edition for Red Dead takes full advantage of the power of PC to bring every corner of this massive, rich, and detailed world to life, including increased draw distances, higher quality global illumination, and ambient occlusion for improved day-night lighting, improved reflections, and deeper, higher resolution shadows at all distances, tessellated tree textures, and improved grass and fur textures for added realism in every plant and animal. Red Dead Redemption 2 for PC also offers HDR support, the ability to run high-end display setups with 4K resolution and beyond, multi-monitor configurations, widescreen configurations, faster frame rates, and more, which actually feels like less from what they did for GTA 5.
It's really just saying this is for the PC master race to flex.
It looks better.
Yeah, and as I was saying to James, I've started playing Red Dead 2 again recently on PS5 using the PS version played through a PS5. It's not upscale for PS5, it's just the PS4 version. I struggle to believe a game could look better than it already looks. So the PC version at full spec must be insane. It was just a graphics flex, and that's a beautiful video game.
So I think if we were going to say anything, you'd expect, depending on what happens with the actual console release for GTA 6, but you'd expect the PC version to run at 60 FPS and beyond. It'll have, better lighting, textures, multi-monitor support, all the things that they've been doing previously. It will include GTA Online. Will it include first person? Will that be a thing in GTA 6? Obviously, they didn't do it for Red Dead, but it's a different type of game. But it feels like that kind of first person VR bubble has maybe burst, and it's just not going to be a thing.
Yeah, we've actually talked though on the show about will GTA 6 contain first person sections, like that section where there's like a police body cam.
Yeah.
Is that playable? Is it not? Is it just a cutscene? We don't know. So it might even be this, we don't know that first person is embedded within the mechanic of GTA 6. It might not be, but I no longer feel like its technical existence is a magical thing in itself. And like you say, I don't really feel like, VR's, we could do an entire podcast on VR and where's it going and whether GTA 6 would be playable in VR, but it does feel like quite a big leap. And actually, would it even make any sense? Because is the market big enough? Like Rockstar dipped their toe once upon a time with L.A. Noire in VR, which is actually brilliant, but they never made the leap to going, here's the ultimate Grand Theft Auto 5 VR experience, because it's such a commitment for such a low user base.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see us getting a VR version. I can see you maybe getting a first-person version where you can click between third and first person, but VR, I'd say, has almost got no chance.
But it does raise questions about what our minimum bar for brilliance will be on PC in 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't think, for example, you go, it's going to be an 8K. Like, I don't think it'd be an 8K. Running games in 8K is almost an insane level of processing requirement. Like, to run actually properly in 4K would probably still be a significant thing, even in 2026. There'll be tech heads who will probably write in comments, you fool, everything will be in 16K by then or whatever. But
go get a new TV.
Yeah, I still, I think at these things, they feel like they go faster than they do. But in reality, I think 4K will still be more than enough to blow your mind by the time the game comes out on PC. Beyond that, I don't know. Like, will it be stuff about the integration of AI on chips or some sort of real-time graphic effects we haven't considered yet? But we are approaching what feels like the event horizon for visuals. Like, at what point are we done? Like, can they not get any better? We're definitely not there. But, I'd also argue, the PC version being released for GTA 5 opened the floodgates to modded versions.
Yeah.
And there are photorealistic GTA 5 mods that are so good, you almost wonder if GTA 6 can hit that benchmark. And I feel like for Rockstar, that must be their minimum bar, is to match what modders were doing with the GTA 5 PC mods. And that stuff's still insane.
Yeah.
It's so good. So like where it goes beyond that, because you're already at almost photorealism, I think it goes beyond graphics and more into the realm of, like we talked about, pedestrian behavior, the way the game's multi-channeled, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think we can get to a graphics level. Like, even I've been playing Hellblade 2 recently on Xbox, which is almost a photorealistic game. Like, the environments and the characters and even the animation bits in that game are incredible. Like, it's an amazing looking game, and you should definitely go and play it because it's on Game Pass and it's free if you've got Game Pass. But it's very, very linear. Like, it walks you down a very, very set path. You get into a circle every time if you're having a fight, and they basically play out in the same way. They look amazing.
Yeah.
But we're not at the stage where everything looks that good and it's an open world game. Like, that is still quite a long way off, because you can see they're using some very clever techniques in it, and it looks like it's all like one shot without cuts in it. Definitely isn't. But it just looks amazing, but we're not, I don't see any other game that's open world hitting that visual quality.
No, and Rockstar are only ever going to lean on emergent physics and instant response gameplay, because it's just not a game that's, unless they do real showpiece structured, it just doesn't feel like GTA. It feels like something Naughty Dog would do, or that, like you say, that thing where you're barely controlling something. I guess the thing they could do, and this is a thing that Red Dead Redemption does a lot, is there's sort of passive sections which are like cutscenes where Red Dead invites you to use the dynamic camera.
Yes.
Which they're definitely better looking, but actually it's so good in game anyway. The real use of it is more so you can take your hands off the pad and just take in the story rather than nudging the stick.
And I guess Red Dead was very much because there was a lot of horse traveling, and sometimes that horse traveling took quite a long time.
The horses.
So to have a dynamic camera means you could say, go to that town, I'll put the dynamic camera on, I'll just watch me travel there rather than have to like ride all the way over there. Obviously with GTA, things move a lot quicker. You would hope if if you've got a car. So, I mean, now you've made me think about, I can very easily see them being automated cars in GTA 6 and you telling it to go to a waypoint, and then the driverless car will drive you to there, and you can put on the cinematic camera and watch it drive there like that.
Now you say it, it feels like that's almost the dozy to be included.
Tick.
Because, but it is, isn't it? Because, IRL, that's what's happening. Like, Tesla's now, I mean, all right, there are some horrific stories of people. I decided to read my iPad or whatever I did, and then my Tesla went off the side of a cliff. There's clearly risks with genuinely fully automated AI-led car driving, but like for Rockstar, that's not their problem. They can just make it so it's a perfect system.
Yeah, or not. Put that in the game. It'd be hilarious to have someone driving in their automated car and drive off a cliff.
For the freedom that, for gameplay design, the freedom that gives you to have characters then who could truly climb out of their car to wield a gun or something or whatever. And I think it's consumer friendly if you could go, I don't really want to have to drive to this location. So you can if you want, but just let the car drive otherwise, and you can check your phone and research other missions whilst the car drives itself. And it's completely legit with what you could do in real life.
Let's clip this bit of the podcast out for when it definitely happens in the game.
Yeah.
And finally, Dan, something I didn't think we'd be talking about at this stage, but we're going to talk about GTA 7 for reasons that will quickly become apparent. Now, this is from the same interview, so if you loved the words before, get ready for some more Strauss Zelnick words. At that conference, he was asked a question by the host, which goes, if you look out, I know we're not even at GTA 6 yet, but thinking about, and then he paused a little bit, and then Strauss Zelnick interjected with GTA 7, which was obviously a joke. And then the host continued with, I imagine a few things are true. One, Rockstar would prefer not to have another 12-year gap between major iterations of their franchise. Which Strauss replied, it's important to bear in mind that it's not like Rockstar put out GTA 5 and sat on their hands for 12 years. We launched GTA Online that's turned into a massive living, breathing ecosystem which continues to perform and grow to this day. So the label totally transformed from a label that made big, standalone, monolithic games to a label that's now in the live service business. I do think, given the scale of that label, it's a huge company itself, there isn't much more to be done. This isn't a situation where it's 12 years of girth of product. There's 12 years where Rockstar had been putting out a mass amount of content and another title called Red Dead.
Yeah, no, this is actually, I think, quite revealing, but only in that it confirms what an outside observer would know to be true. Like, And it's him saying, basically, we'd rather not have had 12 years between games, which I think is quite a big confession. And what it directly addresses, and you could see this outside looking in, they didn't expect GTA Online to be the phenomenon it's become. And this was seen from the way they launched it. After the single player game, it was all very trial based. We're trying this out. Will it work? We don't know. The success of it, and by this I mean the player engagement success and the monetary success, has rewired the way Rockstar and Take-Two work and how they deliver their results. It's a money machine.
Yeah.
And I think and this is the reason, and we've talked about this at length, all of the GTA 5 single player DLC ended up in the bin. Because there was just no world where it made more sense to spend ages making that than just pumping out hats and missions and crazy stuff for GTA Online. So it's them essentially saying we've had to change the way our company works to deliver consistent real-life updates and, like I say, move to an online business model. So as a result, the 12-year gap is a function of that.
Yeah.
Now they've got that stuff, I assume they've probably restructured their teams. They've got different leaderships, different rhythms, different everything. They might be able to move to a model where, pillar GTA releases aren't 12 years apart.
I mean, that's definitely what they would want. It's probably what we would want.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the most interesting bit about it, well, not the most interesting, the bit that everyone's picked up on is obviously the mention of GTA 7, which is, even as a joke, that they're, like, the fact that they're referencing it in what clearly is a jokey context is still quite revealing, because previously I don't think I don't remember them ever mentioning sort of like GTA 5 before it was officially like a thing, right? They just never would talk about it at all. So even to mention it in passing, like, oh, GTA 7,
for Strauss Zelnick to even say those words has a significance. To say it out loud, the thing that everyone else could say for him. What if, and I think the important thing to point out is, like, he can say the words GTA 7 at this point in time. What he might say in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years might be different. But it does suggest that they see their long-term model for GTA as continuing to release pillar monolithic updates, as opposed to saying, we've postulated about this, GTA Online becoming the forever game that evolves and mutates. Just to say GTA 7 suggests there's still GTA Online may continue to evolve and update, but there will still be major map updates or major world updates or huge updates of mechanics. But as I say, that's true now. What might be true in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, it might just be GTA Online forever. But they're clearly thinking on the mindset of GTA 7 could be a thing.
I mean, GTA 7 could just be completely online. By that stage, we'll surely be in a fully digital world. We're talking next generation, probably, PS6. Yeah. This is a PS6, Xbox Next game. Like, this isn't coming out on PS5, given the trajectory we seem to be on with new console releases and all of that stuff.
I mean, we could be beyond, almost beyond PS6. Almost.
Come on.
And that's what I mean. It's insane. And
beyond, think about that.
Beyond PS6, like, there might not even be a PS7. PS6 might be. I remember going on like the BBC at the point of PS4 and people going, this is the last console Sony will ever make, wasn't it? And I said, no, that's nonsense. And they were like, come on, the cloud's taking over everything. This is the last console ever. So, like, I think people are a bit early to prescribe doom, but I don't know, PS7 feels like quite a long way away.
Yeah. So there we go. Maybe GTA 7 on PS6, possibly. Maybe even on PS7. That would make the numbers line up, at least. There's a nice synergy to that kind of thing.
It feels such a moonshot, but I agree. There's a world where maybe GTA 7 it's almost like when Destiny 2 puts out its most major story update ever. There's a world where it's like that, but I wonder if it'll be more a case of, in the 7 years or 8 years or 10 years since GTA 6, there's been significant advances in AI, mechanics and whatever. We need to from orbit reboot this and launch a brand new platform that then becomes the new GTA Online. At the moment, that feels true to me. It might not in 3, 5, 10 years.
Right, well, that just about wraps up this episode of GTA 6 o'clock. Let us know what you think about all those talking points in the comments. Something I didn't mention at the top was you should all subscribe to this channel, please. That would be very nice and help us out. And please get in touch on Twitter at GTAVOclock and drop us some emails with your questions, your comments, your leaks, your rumours, your facts. GTAVIOclock@gmail.com. We do read them all. Thank you very much for sending everything in. We are collecting everything. We will do a special reader Q&A episode coming up sometime in the future. So thank you for listening. Please rate and subscribe, and we will see you next week for another episode of GTA 6 o'clock.